Sergeant Watts, could you please tell us all what happened on the afternoon of March the 31st when you encountered the defendant?
I was on patrol with Constable Hopwood when we saw a car failing to stop at a red light. We gave chase and caused the car to stop. The defendant, who had been driving, emerged...
Yes?
And when told that he was being charged, became abusive and violent.
Abusive and violent, yes?
Extremely violent, yes. Particularly towards my colleague, Constable Hopwood. It was some time before we could restrain and arrest him.
So if I could ask you this one more time, because this is what is at issue here. Who, in your opinion, was responsible for the violence?
The defendant, Mr. Battersby.
Thank you, Sergeant.
So, you're standing by your colleague, which under other circumstances might be admirable. But I must remind you, Sergeant, we are in a court of law and you have taken an oath.
With respect, sir, I am aware of that.
So, let me put it to you that this outbreak of violence came not from the defendant, but from your colleague, Constable Hopwood. He was the one who launched a savage attack on Mr. Battersby.
That wasn't what I saw.
So you're telling us, having jumped a red light and faced with 2 police officers, Mr. Battersby, what, he went berserk?
He became abusive and had to be restrained.
That's the story you've agreed with Constable Hopwood.
That happens to be the truth.
Thank you. Your Honour.
Thank you, Sergeant.
It's not looking too good, is it?
It never was.
The defence turn now to call their witnesses.
If they can find any. Looks like they might have a problem.
Read the words on the card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You are David Arden?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Arden, can you remember where you were on the afternoon of March the 31st?
Out and about, same as I normally am.
And did this being out and about take you anywhere near Livingston Road?
Yes, sir.
While on Livingston Road, did you notice anything unusual?
Yes, sir. There was this police car that had stopped this other car. The police got out, a man and a woman, and they got the man who'd been driving the other car, which was that gentleman over there.
The defendant?
They got him backed up and they were talking to him. I couldn't hear what about. And then suddenly there was arms flying and that gentleman...
The defendant?
He went down. And that's when the policeman just waded in, hitting him and kicking him, giving him a real good working over.
Yes? A real good working over?
Yes, sir.
How many times did the policeman hit and kick the defendant?
I don't know, but a lot.
Approximately?
5 or 6 times at least.
Was the defendant fighting back?
How could he? He was on the floor.
Well, what about the policewoman? What was she doing?
She tried stopping him, but I'd say he only stopped when he decided he'd done enough damage.
Now, I'll ask you once again, Mr. Arden, and this is very important. Was this what you might call a fight, or was it one person assaulting another?
One person assaulting another. The policeman assaulting that gentleman.
Thank you.
Mr. Arden, I take it you don't like the police?
Really, Your Honour, I did hope we might restrict ourselves to questions of fact. I can't see the witnesses'
Neither do
attitude.
I. Do you think you could rephrase, Mr. Darcy?
With respect, Your Honour, I am informed that the witness is of no fixed abode.
He can still have perfectly good eyesight.
Of course. But, you do live rough, don't you, Mr. Arden?
I do, yeah.
Right. So, back to the afternoon in question. When you saw what was happening, what did you do?
There wasn't much I could do.
But you were there. You were close. How close were you?
20 yards.
So what did you do? Nothing? Just watched?
It was the police, weren't it? I haven't had enough time with them as it is without sticking my nose into something like that.
Really? The police give you a hard enough time, do they?
Sometimes, yeah.
So, all right, you decided not to do anything about it at the time, but, well, how about later? Did you not think to make a complaint?
No chance. Then it'd be me getting it next.
So you saw a man being ill-treated and you decided to do absolutely nothing at all, and then later, well, what? Forgot all about it?
Mr. Battersby, could you tell us what happened on the afternoon of March the 31st?
I certainly can. I was out working as a cabbie, which is what I do, when I get pulled by a police car. And I get out and so, well, it's you know who.
Sergeant Watts and PC Hopwood.
Them. And they're telling me I've jumped a red light. I might have, I don't know. Then all of a sudden, Hopwood tries to land one on me. No reason, just as a go.
It was PC Hopwood who struck the first blow.
And the second, and loads more after that. I had cracked ribs and all sorts.
Did you strike PC Hopwood?
Well, I might have, yeah, once. Once! And that was only my arms coming up, automatic, like they do when you're being hit.
And what happened then?
Then I went down. And that was when he really got going. Put the boot in, without a word of a lie. I remember thinking, I'm not going to survive this. This fella's out to kill me.
Cracked ribs.
Yes?
Sustained when PC Hopwood was trying to restrain you and was pulled down on top of you.
No way, come on.
Whilst PC Hopwood himself, and there are the x-rays to prove this, had to be treated for a fractured eye socket.
Well, if he were...
No if about it.
Then that was because I caught him with my arm, like I said. He put me down. Gave me a right going over. And we all know why, don't we?
Because you've been stopped for a traffic offence.
It's not to do with any traffic offence. Excuse me, Your Honour. Only it's all right if I tell the truth, is it?
It's more than all right. It's something you have sworn an oath so to do.
Right. So let's have the truth, shall we? Because I'm sick of this. Hopwood is living with my missus. My wife, what's sat up there. And that's what this is all about. We've already had a few run-ins. So when he stopped me, well, he just couldn't believe his luck, because this was his big chance to stop all the hassle of a divorce and put me away in a box.
These are very serious allegations.
Not as serious as it was for me, lying there having my head kicked in.
So your wife has left you and is living with Constable Hopwood?
And that's what this is all about.
In which case I can well understand that, having been pulled up and seen that it was PC Hopwood who'd stopped you, well, yes, I can imagine that you might have been none too pleased.
No, I wasn't, no.
To the point where you lashed out at him.
In self-defence. Only after he'd had a go at me.
But why should he?
Because he's nicked my missus!
So you are the aggrieved party. You were the one with the reason for resenting him.
I ate his guts, if you really want to know.
And these feelings got the better of you, which is why you attacked him.
How many times? It was him who attacked me.
Yes, well, we'll let the jury decide that, shall we? You're no stranger to a courtroom, are you, Mr. Battersby? You have a number of previous convictions, in fact. Handling stolen goods, burglary, threatening behaviour.
Hey! Hey! He's not allowed to say all this!
Yes, he is. And you must answer.
As well as a previous conviction for assault, yes?
That's got nothing to do with this.
But you do have a previous conviction for assault.
Yes, I do, yeah.
Thank you, Your Honour. No further questions?
Once you raised the question of your wife living with the police...
Which I had to do. That's what it was all about.
That may well have been. But it opened the way for the prosecution to talk about you and your background, as we'd warned you would happen.
We could have tried to stop them. But if we'd failed, it would have looked even worse. As though we were trying to cover something up.
So what you're saying is, I've cocked up, have I?
Well...
I've asked for Constable Hopwood to be recalled. Let's try to get the jury to look at him in a different light. Now they know there's another side to all this. You stopped the defendant and warned him he would be prosecuted for jumping a red light.
Yes, sir.
Was mention made by either of you of the fact that you are currently living with the defendant's wife?
His former wife.
But they are still married?
Mrs. Battersby is in the process of seeking a divorce.
So they are still married. So, was this the state of affairs referred to on the afternoon in question?
The defendant said something, yes. Most of which I'd rather not repeat.
And that's why you assaulted him?
I didn't. I didn't assault him.
You what? Just took no notice?
I tried to calm things down. But he became increasingly agitated. And then he struck out, hitting my left eye.
But when he was on the floor, that was when you lost control.
No, sir.
There was already bad blood between you. This was your chance. Believing yourself to be protected by your uniform, this was your chance to settle things once and for all.
With respect, sir, that wasn't how it happened.
But you're living with this man's wife. What went on? This confrontation. It was over a lot more than a routine traffic offence. You'll admit that, at least.
I suppose in his mind it might have been, but as far as...
Thank you. No more questions, Your Honour.
Mr. Darcy, do you wish to re-examine?
Just briefly, Your Honour. Constable Hopwood, much is being made of the fact that the woman you live with was once the wife of the defendant. But you're not denying this.
No, sir.
Were you the cause of the breakdown of their marriage?
No, sir, that had happened long before I met Janice, Mrs. Battersby.
So nobody could ever say that you were in any way to blame?
I don't believe they could, sir, no.
How long have you been a serving policeman?
19 years.
And in all that time, have you ever been subject of any disciplinary proceedings?
No, sir.
Have you ever received any commendations?
Yes, sir, been commended twice.
No further questions, Your Honour.
You can stand down. Mr. Rivers, could we have your closing remarks?
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this isn't a beauty contest. You're not being asked to decide who is the better person. All you're being asked is, after all you've heard just now about the background to this case, particularly about the antagonism that already existed between these two men, can you be certain of just what occurred on the afternoon of March the 31st? I put it to you that you can't. None of us can.
There have been attempts to confuse you, to suggest that this case is part of some ongoing vendetta, or that we will never know the truth. But we already know the truth. We have had 2 police officers stand up in this court and, under oath, tell us the truth. Which is that the defendant was stopped after committing a traffic offence and then, for whatever reason, and yes, there might well have been reference made to the defendant's estranged wife, but that is neither here nor there. What matters is that the defendant assaulted P.C. Hopwood, causing him serious injury.
How long do you think it'll be?
Could be minutes, could be hours. They do sometimes say the longer the better.
I don't want to go back inside. I know what it's like and... Oh no, God, please. Don't let them send me back inside.
Will the foreman please stand? Mr. Foreman, have the jury reached a verdict on which you are all agreed?
We have.
Do you find the defendant, Leslie Battersby, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You find the defendant guilty, and that is the verdict of you all?
It is.
I thank the jury for their service to the court. Given the defendant's history, I see no necessity for further reports and intend to pass sentence once we have heard any plea for mitigation. Mr. Rivers. I have listened to what's been said and am taking into account the defendant's record. Also, I might say, the fact that he has shown no remorse, but on the contrary, has attempted to smear the reputations of 2 police officers in an attempt to evade responsibility. Taking all this into account, Leslie Battersby, I sentence you to prison for 6 months. Take him down.
It's all wrong, this. It's all wrong.
Court will rise.